order out the paper. If you want to speak to me after the meeting, I'm going to be here and I'll talk to you. If you have a confidential discussion you want to have, write your name and phone number down, give it to me, and I'll call you in the next couple of days as, there you go, thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
And we can have a discussion, and I can hopefully clear things up. This is, a very difficult time actually when you're doing a transition, because there's people that left, there's people coming in, there's some institutional knowledge that left. So Glenn and myself have been working with the board to wrap our arms around as much information as we can properly. And look forward to speaking afterwards or speaking by the phone at a later date. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to call the meeting to order. Today is Wednesday, September 22nd at 6:36 p.m. And the meeting is called to order. And Bill will be moderating.
So I'd like to have a roll call of the board of directors.
Okay.
We have the board president,
Dick Federal.
president, and the secretary. Sorry. I slipped for a second. But Debbie is here for the record. And we have Steve is treasurer, and he's on Zoom.
Vice President Treasurer.
Vice President Treasurer. And that constitutes a quorum.
Okay.
And now we're going to move on to the approval of the minutes of the July 21st Board of Directors meeting.
All right. So I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the July 22nd board meeting. All in favor?
I'm in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Minutes are approved. And now we're going to move on to the treasurer's report. Brought to you by Steve on Zoom.
Hi, everyone. Hopefully you can hear me. If you can't, just let Jason know up front there. Currently, our community is working through a 90-day transition to our new management company, the Castle Group. Because of this, Castle is currently in the process of auditing the financial information that had been legally transferred to them from our former management company, FSR. We're also working through banking transfers for operating funds, and we're also ensuring that we get the best possible interest rates for our money. As such, we did receive the financial for the month ending August 31st from FRS, and I'll speak briefly to that. The August statement from FSR indicated that we had approximately $25,000 positive flow to our budget. This was down from the previous month's total, mainly due to a payment of tree services that were approximately $25,000. Most of this positive flow, however, is mainly due to the timing of invoice payments. So I don't expect this to continue. In fact, we'll be close to zero or break even by the end of the year. After the financials came out from FSR, we were made aware that there was an outstanding invoice from a project done for a unit from March. That invoice was for a little over $11,000. There were other smaller invoices for maintenance of the exercise equipment that were as far back as December of 2020. Those were not large, but totaled approximately $600. We had also paid for some recent roof repair work and have other projects pending. While we think we have found most of the invoices that didn't get paid from the past, we don't know for sure until the transition is completed. Additionally, our reserve funds were managed very well, and we're at our goal of being able to soon start phase 3, the final phase of our roofing project. In October, we'll be receiving an updated reserve study that will be revisiting a study that was done in 2018. This was already planned to do prior to the current board's inception. We anticipate this study telling us that we need to put more money into reserves to ensure buildings and properties are maintained. One item in particular that you're going to be hearing about later in the meeting
My name is Susan. Hi, everybody. Thank you very much. I have a couple of questions in regards to the financials. Several people are refinancing their homes and have requested, or their lenders have requested, condo warranty HOA certs to be completed. They haven't been. Do you have any kind of time frame? And I know, I get it. It's a hot mess. I get it, but this is actually preventing some people from refinancing, and rate locks are going to expire. And I ask this because I'm going to be actually selling my unit, and that's gonna pose a huge problem because I wanna make sure that all the paperwork that I know is gonna have to be done gets done in a reasonable amount of time, or it's gonna cost me $6,000.
Well, let me try to answer what I know, and Bill and others can add to it. First of all, our HOA fees have not changed, and they won't change, and until we understand what the budget's gonna be for next year. And that budget won't come out until, I believe it's end of November, 1st of December.
End of November,
Something like
yep.
that.
End of November.
So currently, you should have no problem, financing, or refinancing or selling a home. But the fees, we're hoping to stay the same, but, you know, we don't know until the budget comes out, toward the end of the year. And a lot's gonna depend also on our, on that, reserve study that I mentioned earlier.
Right.
Oh.
Thank you very much. So, question regarding, and I don't know who this would actually go to, but for people who are refinancing, who have lenders who have provided the funds, because I know that we charge a fee to fill out the condo certs, that's fine. But those funds have been provided, but the condo certifications are not getting back to the lenders in time.
Okay. To be clear, that's not a question. You're talking about how long ago?
No, what I'm talking about is for Fannie and Freddie, FHA, on the financing end, and I know that sometimes it's hard to try and put the two together. Lenders require certain things of HOAs, and there's a certification. It's an HOA cert. It basically gives all of the information about the property. You know, how many units, how many is this, whatever. Lenders require that be filled out. They also understand that there's a fee for that. So I know that Sandy is actually in the process of refinancing. Her lender has issued $110, $20 fee that was requested. So the lenders paid that, but they still haven't received the information that they need for her to close in order before she, so she doesn't lose her rate lock.
How long are you talking? A week, a day, a month? When
As
is
far
this
as,
done?
since it's been
Excuse me?
over a week.
Over a week? Okay, so.
Time frame on that or anything?
I know a little bit.
Fill it out on the
We have a stop department, but Glenn has some information on that.
Are you talking about the stop certificate here?
What?
Not
Not pretty, not
She
for
got a
fine.
questionnaire. She didn't have, my proper email address. I've given her my email address. Her husband was in this afternoon. He took my email address, and, I've been looking all afternoon for an email from the lender, still haven't received it, so I gave her one of my old cards with my
Right, email.
constant, which is my email address, so we'll get this addressed.
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure about that.
That's
Let's try to stick to the agenda items. This is getting a little off.
Oh, okay, sorry.
You guys can discuss.
Yeah, if you have questions like personal like that, we can speak afterwards, we'll help you out, yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Okay,
Well, that, folks.
no more treasury questions? Okay. So we're gonna move on to the manager's report, and Glenn and I are gonna present it. Did you want to go over it, or do you want to read through it? I've written out, so Glenn's let me read through here. So we just give a report of everything we're doing, and it's a developing checklist. Right now, we give the board pretty much a bullet format, and we're gonna refine it towards the end of the week to a spreadsheet of our updated items that we're working on and resolving our action list. And I'm sure by the time we're done, it's gonna turn into maybe a 4 or 5 page document as we learn more and we interact more with you folks and with the board. So right now, the main thing that management has been doing was handling and meeting with residents and finding what their concerns were. And Glenn's been filling up his notebook as he speaks to each of you and making sure things are being dealt with. one of the top operational items that the board is all engaged in, and we're trying to remove the responsibility from the board to us, as meeting with the landscaper. So right now, Glenn is committed to a once-a-week meeting with members, supervising members of the Duval Landscape team, and you want to talk a little about?
Yeah, I've met with them the last 2 weeks actually, and I drag them around, and if I have a complaint from an individual, I bring them all over and I show them what we're talking about. And there's no denying it. He shakes his head and he says, yeah, he's trying to empower his crews to be more observant and proactive. If something is protruding through a tree with mist and it's obviously not part of the existing shrubbery, they carry clippers and clip themselves. I know a big problem is for a lot of folks is the vines that are growing sometimes over the air conditioning unit, up the walls, or the screens, or the screened-in porches and so on. So this past week, we actually went out and visited one building that had just been trimmed, I guess is the term they use. They cut the lawns on Mondays, they come back and do maintenance on Tuesdays, I understand. And this is well after they had done the maintenance on this the prior week. So I drug them over to that unit and I showed them and asked them, what do you think? What do you say? And I said, we'll compare notes afterwards. And he pretty much agreed with everything that we pointed out. So like I said, he's working to empower his crews to be more observant of things, deficiencies, and take care of them as they're working on the property.
Yeah, we've noticed a few deficiencies. Glenn's just giving you like a short list of it. And instead of pulling them up every day, we're just compiling a list of what we need to address. And Glenn's been doing that once a week with them. And Glenn's also proactively looking for these defects and bringing it to their attention. And in most cases, they're pretty responsive. I would say there's a no excuse industry, right? So there is no excuse, but there's some reasons. They're in the middle of the growing season, and it's raining, and the stuff is growing really fast, and it's really hard for them to get their arms around it. But it looks like they're catching up slowly. They are having some personnel problems, which is evident. You see different crew members here sometimes. But for the most part, they are taking responsibility. They're responsive to Glenn, and they're dedicated to this property, and they made that very clear to us. So right now, we're giving the benefit of the doubt, and it looks like they're being catch up, hopefully, maybe 90 days too, so we'll see. But I know Glenn, we found some stuff behind us over here across the pond. Glenn made a phone call to them, and it looks like they sent some guys out on this right away to address those issues. But that's not to say there's, still more we can do. Yes, ma'am?
Hi, I'm glad to hear they're responsive to you. That's wonderful. Can you please get them to stop blowing all the debris and leaves off the roadways and parking lots and driveways back onto the lawns? That's been a big issue for a lot of people. It was supposed to, the agreement was, to our understanding, having attended the presentation, that leaves were going to be collected and taken off the property. That has not happened since they came.
I have some input on that. I spoke with them specifically about that this past week. Our contract with them accounts for 2 complete leaf removals. During the week, as I'm told, the intent, I'll take your input on this because I didn't see it, but they are committed to blowing the leaves onto the grass, and then their intent is to, as they're cutting, mulching what was put out there. And that
I have not had a problem in the
Okay.
past.
Yeah. They mow and then blow. It's like, reverse that.
I'll take that along because, as I
That's
said,
a problem,
I did
right?
present to him, and that's what he told me, and I'm going to tell him that his crew isn't doing that.
We'll hold them accountable to
The
this.
question then is, with the number of leaves that we have on this property, there are only going to be 2 times during the course of a year that they will go around and collect leaves and remove them. Because other than that, if I understand correctly, what you're saying is, they're gonna blow them up onto the lawns, outside of those 2 periods when they come in and mulch them. That's what is gonna happen.
That's the way it's been described.
Well, that's really gonna be, it's not gonna be very good. And we're paying, actually, we are paying more now than we did previously, when the leaves were taken off the property. That's really disgraceful.
Okay, so we're not paying more, that's wrong. The second thing is, last year, that company mulched leaves in the street. They did that week after week. They never touched the lawn the entire winter. This company is blowing the leaves on the lawn, so the lawn can be cut and the leaves can be mulched at the same time. That's how it's gonna work.
You're saying the previous company did not remove the leaves?
No, I didn't say that. I said they mulched them in the street.
And
then they
removed them.
bagged them.
Haul them out.
They bagged them.
And haul them out.
Right.
So that is good mulch that puts the nutrients back into the lawn.
I totally disagree.
Well, that's
Going on
fine,
to
Jane.
this
You can disagree, but
previously.
that's the way it's going to work.
Well, you'll find out when the lawns die, because it's happened previously.
Okay.
We had it with the previous landscape.
we lost internet.
That's what
Well,
they did, and the lawns
We're
died.
gonna take the word of the professional company that they can do it that way. And we'll see what happens, and if it doesn't work out, we'll do something about it.
What about the $2,000 extra we spent?
We didn't.
No.
We did not spend that money. We voted to spend it, but we didn't spend it. We didn't need to.
Recording in progress.
Okay, you wanna continue? Thanks.
Moving on? Okay.
Hey, just maybe paraphrase that for everybody, because I think we lost the video feed there. We had a little bit of an internet.
Okay, we had a question about the $2,000 that we had approved, about a month and a half, 2 months ago. That was not spent because they didn't provide the service in time, and we decided it wasn't necessary by the time they were able to do it, so we did not pay for it.
Thank you.
Okay.
And I have a
Yes.
question. What about the leaves that are behind the bushes that were there from last year? None of that has ever been cleaned out, right?
Yeah.
Actually, is that
That's
gonna be part of the?
That's part of the twice a year cleanup. So that's forthcoming. They're gonna clean this.
It's typically winter.
I'm afraid the grass is gonna die.
The leaves are starting to drop now. As I live on,
Yeah, one of the things that happens in the winter is the mowing only gets done every other week. If you remember the presentation, they discussed that. So the crews come in 2 days a week just to do cleanup. They do tree trimming, they do bush trimming, they do weed removal, they do cleaning out of the beds with leaves. All of that gets done not only 1 day during the mowing, but the next week it's 2 days. And that happens for, I think, 4 months.
Pretty much, it's the dormant season.
And that's the way the contract's written. If you look at it, that's the way it works.
And that's fairly typical, yeah.
The majority of the cleanup gets done when the growing season is at its minimum. So, yes.
So there's also leaves that are currently today being blown into the buildings underneath the bushes.
Yeah, we addressed that
So,
one.
they're new leaves, they're not there from previous seasons. They're new leaves that are being blown into the bushes and into the building and left.
Yeah, it was all pointed out that the crew 2 weeks ago did that.
Yeah.
They blew everything into the bushes.
Is
So
that on
that's very-
purpose?
No,
Oh,
I don't think they knew
oh,
exactly
so
what
that's
they
been
were supposed
addressed,
to be
I
doing.
mean, that, you're working on that.
Yeah, when I saw that, I immediately sent pictures to Mike, who's in charge.
That's
Okay.
not
And then
acceptable.
these guys already talked to them about that, so.
Okay, in progress, thank you.
If it happens again, let Glenn know and he'll address it.
Yeah, you got his number.
Absolutely. So, we currently negotiated the, electrical contract to replace timers on buildings 21 and 14. We did some work with the, access control system for the pool. And, apparently at this time, we're able to successfully create new cards. And, right now, it doesn't look like the board has to spend money on a new system. So that saved a few $1,000s. Being still young into the project here at the property, We have a full-time maintenance person here, his name is Tom Murphy, he's your dedicated maintenance technician, and he only works at your property, and he is full-time. And that being the case, we're trying to figure out the best way to utilize him. So right now, we're focused mostly on the clubhouse area, the front entryway, and he's been slowly expanding his operations out into the other areas of the community. You know, for example, he steam cleaned the rug in here a few times, and that saved the board having to have it done professionally or purchase a new carpet. He's started to do some touch-up painting, and Glenn's working with him to develop that schedule further. We went through an inventory of stationary, office, and maintenance supplies in the garage and here in the clubhouse. We located and identified the fountain shut-offs, and we scheduled filter cleanings for the fountains. We prepared for this board meeting. Initiate proposal for clearing of vegetation along the pond bulkhead, which is something we're going to ask the board right now. We have a proposal pending, Glenn?
Yeah.
Could you just read that out loud? So we have a proposal. Okay, Glenn's going to grab that, but we're going to ask the board to review and approve a proposal for the cleaning out vegetation along the pond bulkhead, which is right over here. And we'll get back to that when we get back. Is that right? Yeah. Okay. So we're working on establishing better communication with residents, and part of that important tool is the e-blast that a lot of you should be receiving. So anytime someone comes to the clubhouse, Victoria's been asking you to fill out a form so we can collect your data and put you on this e-blast list. So up to date, just the other day, we had 150 new emails added to that list. So that's a lot for such a short period of time. And that's good for your community because Glenn's going to be sending out more e-blasts every week so you guys know what's going on. You get a little weekly report. If something happens, we'll get the e-blast. So please, if you're not receiving the e-blast, see us before you leave, and let's get you set up for that, okay? Yes, ma'am.
What are you saying, e-blast, e-blast?
E-blast is email blast being sent out.
E-blast.
Yes.
Thank
If
you.
you're not getting the e-blast, please see us and we'll sign up
And
for it.
that's an email.
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
Say something, just check your spam filters first.
That's excellent advice. Right.
From what I understand, the office is only open 10 to 4?
Yes, so it's staffed from 8:30 to 5. However, it is a very busy facility, and you know, administratively, Glenn still has work to do. So, if he speaks to residents, board members, vendors, salesmen, real estate agents making inquiries, delivering people asking directions, he would never get any work done. The contract calls for one manager assigned to the property, and they need that time when the door is you know, not open to the public to sit in their office and respond to emails, work with the maintenance tech, go over to the work orders, dispatch him, and write reports.
I know last meeting, we've actually, residents would like to turn around and have somebody here maybe late one night, so that way people that actually work can actually see somebody. Is that thought?
That's good feedback, and it's something the board discussed with us, and we're reviewing. And again, it's sort of the report I gave you about the maintenance tech, right? We're still learning it, we're trying to figure out the needs and what the best practices will be. So we're discussing different options with the board, and right now we still have an extra person assigned to the property, Victoria, but when she leaves, we're trying to think of the best way to serve the community, and that is one of the options we have. Yes?
Is Glenn remaining or Pam or is Shauna coming back?
Right now, we have land dedicated to your property. Okay, so we're going to ask the board, who has already received and reviewed the Duval Landscape Maintenance Proposal for using a small boat to remove the plant growth coming through the bulkhead at the pond around the pool deck, which is right over here, and you can see it coming through the front entryway. It looks unkept and unsightly. And I'm going to ask the board if this is something we should do.
So are they going to do anything about the look of the bulkhead?
Just remove the plant growth. So no painting, no touching up or anything like that.
What condition is it in? Do we know that?
We don't know.
The bulkhead?
That would be a good report from them.
they have the expertise to be able to give it those structured.
We may have to get a contract.
But what I first noticed when you come in is the overgrowth protruding through the bulkheads. So that's what this is saying. And again, it's a landscape, not structural. That'd be another.
All right, so we're still waiting to get a landscape plan. We have $4,600 in our contract reserved for new plans. And that, the idea was to clean up the entranceway and make it look good, which is the same idea as this. So I'm gonna make a motion that we table this until we get that plan and look at it and see if we can do all of it at once and make sense out of it and not just spend that money on the bulkhead.
I'd like to second.
And that makes sense. We're talking about doing a more of a coordinated approach.
Yes.
Right. So the areas we're talking about is this front entryway here, right? And then I think everyone sees the difference in the aesthetic, the way it looks in some pictures, the way it looks now. So the board's working with landscaper, and their landscape architect is trying to help us come up with a design to fix that.
Okay. Anybody want to second that?
I second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
All right, so we were talking about the e-blast and resident communication. So the e-blasts are not the only way we communicate. Glenn does have notices which she'll continue to put up in mailbox areas. We're establishing a credit card for the property instead of using petty cash, which we don't think is a good practice, so that this way the manager and the maintenance tech have the ability to purchase supplies as they need. And also if there's an emergency like a hurricane, they can purchase additional equipment or rent machinery or pay other contractors to help out. We have, it's on the agenda, but it's on the management report too. We've ordered new parking stickers. The reason we're doing this is we're going to implement the enforcement of parking rules and regulations here at Lakecrest. And part of the way we're going to do that is you will receive notifications, this is conversational. So when we receive the new stickers, they will be a different color. You'll receive a communication that the current stickers will soon be obsolete in a certain amount of time. And you need to come here to the clubhouse and register your vehicle with management. And that would be for owners and tenants. And there'll be a certain amount of time allocated to do so. Afterwards, enforcement will be implemented. Was there a question on that?
Yeah.
Yep. Yes.
It's actually a question of going back to the credit card.
Sure.
Expenditures on that are gonna require board approval, correct?
They are, right. Well, certain day-to-day things, like if they need paintbrushes, that's not, but I think we have a threshold for what we're allowed to purchase without board approval. So for example, when we rented the shampoo machine for the carpet, that was under that threshold. We just went out and rented that. So certain things are discretionary. The board reviews it, they approve it after the fact, right? So the credit card gets reconciled, the board approves it, I actually review it and look for any red flags, and there is accountability to that process.
And what
Yes,
is
ma'am?
that threshold?
You guys know what it is offhand? It's a 500?
It would be 500. Same as petty cash was, 500.
500, right. So it's the same as petty cash, except instead of having cash, it's a credit
What
card.
if you spent 500 today and then you need to spend 500 tomorrow? Is that, how does that
It
work?
just has to be reconciled.
Right, and it's obviously it's a much better method if you're using a credit card, everything's documented.
If it's abused, we pull.
Exactly, correct, and then the board.
It's that simple.
Yeah, exactly.
I was, that question.
Sorry, sir.
Did you give any consideration to the guest passes that they?
We do, yep, we do, and that's to be redesigned. We think there's a better way to do it. So right now, we're discussing with the board using a placard that will go on your dashboard that gives the date that the guest pass is good through. And that's gonna be easily identifiable, and again, we have a plan for enforcing it as well. So here's a very important thing we're working on right now, preparing a budget and setting a timeline. So right now, Glenn has been working on drafting a shell budget and putting numbers and inputting it. We've also identified a timeline that we need to execute on that's going to meet the Florida statutes and help serve the community by getting a budget in place by certain dates. So we're asking the board to please approve October 13th for a budget workshop and November 17th as the budget meeting. Seconded?
I second.
Okay, let it show the motion was carried.
Any other comments?
Thumbs up on the TV.
This is the 13th, right?
Yes, ma'am. So October 13th, and you'll receive official notification on this. Okay, we're working with the attorney collection report. That's on our tracking list. Looking forward, projects that we are gathering information on and working with the board, getting bids is refreshing entry monument, painting, landscaping, and refreshing the project over here. We're soliciting bids to repair the pavers of the entryway. I'm sure everyone notices that there's big dips in them. So we want to see how much it's going to cost to repair those and possibly pressure wash and seal coat them, which may be a cheaper option than replacing them. We're investigating pool furniture and umbrella replacement, and we're going to provide the board with bids. We're looking at getting proposals for the board to review for updating clubhouse bathrooms. We're looking at getting a proposal for the board for replacing the fitness center television. We're examining uneven concrete slabs throughout the community for trip and fall hazards as part of a risk management protocol. We're conducting evaluation of the tree canopy on the property. The board has a initiative to review the reserve study, which will probably answer a lot of the questions that I'm talking about. They may be redundant, but that's all ties in together. Len is all the contracts the property has, who the contracts are with, and when they expire, so the board can track it on a regular basis and know. This way, if there's a desire to cancel a contract and it has an automatic renewal clause, we won't have to be stuck with that vendor just because of that reason. So it's going to help for better operations of the property. You'll notice there is no website right now. Obviously, the statutes require that there is one. You are allowed to maintain it or take it down and rebuild a new one, and that's exactly what we're doing. We have an IT team from Castle that is working on developing the website and portal. We think that should be out by Halloween. We're working on a tenant lease tracking system so we can track the tenants, and the board will be aware of who's living on the property. And currently we're evaluating the situation with the lampposts and what needs to be done to maintain those. And that is the end of the manager's reports. We're going to move on to the committee reports, and we have a landscape committee.
Yes.
Yes, we do. Until the current, and I've mentioned this before, but until the current weather pattern of very humid days are behind us, the community is doing limited projects throughout the community. I want to give a very special thanks to Michael McFall and Chris Goblik for their continued work through the community. Chris has been working cutting some of our larger bushes and getting them to a level that we've all now take care of. He also cleared some large debris from the smaller pool area, and if you remember what it looked like prior to him doing the work, it looks pretty good now. Michael has been cutting the ends of the vines that grow up the trees. He's leaving about, cut them about 2 feet long so that they essentially die out from above. They're all over the place, and it might not be possible to get to them all, but he does this when the weather and time permit. He also recently helped myself and Vic clear excess debris, large sticks that fall on tree limbs throughout the community. You might have noticed us going around in the car, sometimes on the weekends to pick up some large sticks and so forth that have fallen. We're just trying to clear them out. The community trailer is now loaded to full, and it's going to need to be dumped at a local site soon. And we're currently looking forward to do this because our former site won't allow us to drop palm fronds off anymore. Also, speaking of the trailer, it's also now registered in the community name and has a license plate and all that good stuff. So we're all legal when we hit the road. As the weather improves for such work, the committee is going to be starting up the that's probably in the, late October, November timeframe. Volunteers for this are greatly appreciated. And when we start up again, if you have some time available in your work schedule, even if it's only an hour, your assistance would be appreciated. Tools and water will be provided. That's the report for landscape committee.
That's same thing. Rules and Regulations Committee report.
Okay, so we are planning to have the first meeting for the rules and regulations, and Dee Dee's not here tonight.
No, she said.
So
Got things going.
we'll have an announcement sent out when that meeting will happen. If there are still openings for any volunteers who want to be on that, we're going to be addressing a lot of the issues that haven't been addressed in the rules and regulations specifically. So, you know, if you have any input for that, if you want to join in, please do. Just contact Glenn and give him your information so you can be on the list. Anything else?
If you filled out a form before, that's still.
Yeah, you're in there. Anybody who applied, you're on the list.
Okay, and we have a social committee report.
So we don't have the social committee organized yet, although there's been a lot of people coming up to me saying they want to be on it. So we will figure out what we're going to do with that next.
Yeah, we appreciate the volunteers in the community, and we look forward to working with them. I'm going to speak a little bit more on that later in the agenda. So we're moving on to old business. We have some proposals to review. A pending proposal from All Weather Contracting for unit, should we say the unit numbers or not? Okay, so the unit number,
It's on the agenda.
yeah, 1202.
1201.
Excuse me, 1201. I apologize.
Okay. Okay, so this is a dryer wall repair, 1201. The leak has been repaired. Okay, so it's $290. Do you want to make a motion for all at once, or do you want to do them individually?
We do them individually.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
All right, I make a motion that we approve 1201, repair of the drywall.
Seconded?
Second?
I'll second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Motion carries.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay. We have review a proposal from All Weather for Unit 911 chimney repairs.
No, this is drywall.
Jim,
No.
the agenda says nine.
The chimney has
That
already
was a
been
typo. It's 911.
Oh.
911. And it's approved, or I'll make a motion that we approve $935 to repair, and it's two different areas, in the bedroom and the living room. I make a motion that we approve
Is there a
that.
second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Motion carries. Next review is a proposal, actually this is not a proposal, it's a status.
That's pending.
Pending?
I didn't hear back from them yet. Approved.
Okay,
It
so
was previously approved though.
we have a previously approved proposal that we're working with to get the board further information from Bob's backflow.
So we approved that 2 months ago, and FSR never took action. I actually sent it with the approval to Bob's backflow, and we never heard of a schedule, when they were coming, when it was gonna be done. So these guys are looking into it to find out whatever happened to it.
Okay. So we're moving on to new business. We're conducting a discussion to approve current violations in the community. So right now, we would like to sit down with committee members for the rules and regulations and violation, and we want to read through the rules and establish what the expectations of the board and of the committee are, and what violations are easily enforceable within the boundaries of the community. So we're going to be working with the board, working with the committee, and if necessary, legal counsel, and we're going to start enforcing violations. So Glenn will do an e-blast to let everyone know when we're going to start doing that, to give you fair warning.
Okay, Glenn, or excuse me, Bill?
Yes.
Just a point on that, with the rules
do you think's realistic? If they can meet with us next week?
For what?
Yeah, as early as next week if possible.
Rules and regulations.
Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right.
Yeah.
Can we acknowledge this gentleman?
Yes, sir.
He had us stuck in 24/7. I'm on the violation committee along the bar, but he was here, another lady. And there's a violation meeting set up next week on the 28th.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
But you need a packet, we need a packet ahead of time to review it when we come to the meeting.
Well, we're not acting on violations that, so in other words, you can't have two management companies, right? If we didn't write it, we don't wanna,
Then you'll go cast on me,
we are gonna meet with you guys then, and Glenn will go over the violations with you.
still go to the 28th.
Dennis, what violation is that?
I have no idea.
They don't tell until you pick the packet the day before, you don't even know.
No, that's not,
Who said
we don't
that?
do it that
Well,
way.
that's FSR.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So FSR scheduled this meeting?
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
We'll meet with you guys to discuss the operations moving forward. We do it a little bit differently. You know, we get the violations in advance, and we run it. We try to run it kind of like what, adjudication in court or something. And we'll go over with you guys. Do you have a date and time? Can we have the 28th? What time were you?
6:30.
6:30.
Can anyone go or just Scott?
Only board
it's
members
the,
are allowed to
right,
go.
the committee.
Anybody else can go.
I'm just gonna read through the violations, in, you know, the rules and figure out where we're gonna move forward with issuing them. Yes, ma'am?
Well, okay, the way I believe the statutes are stated, and they correct me if I'm wrong, the board has to vote on a fine. They were supposed to do it at this meeting tonight, if there were any violations coming up. That's presented to the violations committee before the meeting of the violations committee. The violations committee either says, we agree with this fine, or we disagree. So you can't meet with the violations committee about any kind of fines until the board has made a fine.
Correct. We need to meet them because we're working with them, but we have no fines on the agenda.
So there won't be a meeting this month.
Okay.
Forget about it.
Okay.
Sounds like you need an organizational meeting on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need to meet to discuss how we move
how are you
forward.
gonna work? Yeah.
The parking tag status was discussed. We have some concern, so gutter cleaning status, so we've got some concerns and some clarity about the gutters and the current situation. So the board asked us to look into the gutters, and you clearly see it's dry around the community. There's some heavy plant detritus and plant growth on the roof and on the gutters. So after looking into it, it's determined that those structures are scheduled for a re-roofing project. Okay, so we got several bids in the $400 price range to clean gutters and clean the roof off. And at this point in time, it doesn't sound advisable to spend that type of money if you're just going to put your roof down in 2 or 3 months. So what we're advising the board and asking the board to consider is to hire a handyman who has emailed a proposal to go up on the other structures that have new roofs and have gutter guards, and he's going to inspect them, and he's going to blow down the detritus and the leaves and the pine needles that are up there and clean them out, and he'll report back if there's any issues with the gutters up there or with the installation of the gutter guards. And his price is $150 per unit.
Per unit?
Per structure, per structure, per unit, per building, right, yeah.
Per building.
Right, per building, per building.
Per building, okay.
Right, per block, per structure, whatever you want to call it.
Which has like 8 units.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
we
right.
don't multiply
No.
150 by 8.
No, it's $150 for the whole building.
Okay, building.
But we are gonna get more bids.
How many bids did y'all get on this? How many bids?
We have,
Yes, we're gonna get more.
we have, right, we didn't include them because we are still collecting them. So we had 2 clear bids and we had 1 that was a little fuzzy. So we're trying to tighten that up and provide that to the board.
Anybody recalls if there's any problem with
reports on the.
So what we're gonna do is, because we have the phase coming up, we're gonna have the gutter companies look at the gutters, look at the design, how they were installed, compare them to the phase that had not been changed, determine if there should have been a design change or not, and if we need to do anything differently in the final phase, and if we need to retro anything backwards to where what's been done is wrong. We need to determine all that before we start phase 3. So that's the plan.
Yeah, I understand that, but do we have any recourse on the gutter company?
We certainly are keeping that in mind.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yes, Dennis?
I'm home every day till I'm retired. I mean, I'm there when it rains. As far as I'm concerned, my gutter reports are fine. In my area, the gutters are, they're not letting anything get down into them. The rain's just pouring out, pouring out.
Yeah, it seems like the smaller gutters are overloaded because they're dropping too much water from the upper roof into them. That's what it looks like every time it rains hard. But we're gonna have some experts look at it and determine it.
And by the way, I sent Glenn a photo of when they took down the old gutters on the side of the buildings.
Yeah.
The gutter people were supposed to come back when they completed the job and repaint the sides.
No, that was never in the contract.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't. It was definitely not. It was never addressed.
Well, who's gonna paint my building? Looks like crap.
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't?
I wasn't on the board when that happened, and I can't answer that question.
I'm not gonna pay for it.
Okay, moving on.
Steve, question?
The next phase of the roofing project, this gutter project, it's not gonna delay the next phase of the roofing project.
Well, it's a coordinated effort. The roofers come in and do a building, and then the gutter people come in with the gutters on. So the gutters come down when the roof comes off. So it has to be coordinated. That's how it's been done.
So we're discussing this with the board, and we see a value in having a meeting with the contractors before anything starts, because we have to own the project, right? We can't just let these guys come in and start doing it. So we're trying to we've gathered proposals, we see value in sitting down with the contractor and hear what they have to say,
Which is, we're in that last phase and not just.
and trying to put the contractors together, and it's the board's decision, but if in order to have it done the right way, there may be a delay, there may be a value in the board making that decision. If we put back a little bit, or if we should move forward, you know, haste makes waste, and it's in our interest to make sure that the project gets off on the right foot. And for roofing, there is no season for it, right? I mean, actually, the best time to do roofs is over the winter. So, you know, in our opinion, if we have to recommend to the board to push back 30 days to let us do our due diligence, you know, we would appreciate them considering that.
Question, you have a project manager that looks at that stuff, that knows?
We do not. That's a third-party function. So if you need a project manager, you know, they can hire one. At this time, it sounds like you just really need someone to administer the project, right? So having a meeting with the contractor who's in the chimney, the contractor does gutters, the contractor does a roof, and us, and sit at the same table and talking it out, that sounds like that would be a good first step. And if it becomes too complicated, then the board can discuss that option.
So I would think that, you know, a project manager would help to make sure things are, somebody that's actually on the ground that knows what they need to do right.
There could be value in that, you know, and I think that's for the board to call it after we speak to the contractors and hear what they have to say.
Bill?
Right.
Yes, hello.
So the last phase of the roofing includes these garages that haven't been done all throughout the facility.
As we heard, right? As we heard.
Okay.
We just want to see it done the right way. It's easier to do it right the first time and get involved in a project that's not going smooth. And for operationally for us, we need to know what the plan is, what the contractor's looking for, and how quick they want to move, and make sure that we're prepared to deal with it correctly.
I'm sorry, I'm kind of thinking out of the box here, but on these garages that are standalone,
Yes.
do we really need gutters on those?
Yes.
I mean, they're out there, I mean, you're gonna get wet going out to the garage anyways, why are the gutters?
I don't know, we'll let the gutter company, we'll ask them that question.
Okay.
Was there a question, Jason, on Zoom?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
So current bids on projects, there's unit question number 502. We've got some conflicting contractor reports. So Glenn and I are going to go to the property and take a look at it ourselves and meet the contractor there and try to investigate the cause of the damage. And we're going to report that back to the board before the next board meeting.
Question,
Yes, ma'am.
the owner's here.
Hello, how are you?
Just saying.
Hello.
How you doing? Every time it rains, the concrete, the more wet it gets because of the gutters, and I get the whole replacing now is pointless. That concrete is cracked, and that landing piece moves.
Okay.
When I step into my house, you hear this really weird, like Halloween style creak. And I need to know that it's obviously gonna be safe. It's been that way since I got here, and I guess it's already been replaced once.
It's already been repaired once.
Yeah, so what we got, the one contractor said was the threshold was loose coming into your house
Right.
in North Bristol. The other contractor came and said it was the railing that's against the garage.
It's both.
That was squeaking.
It's both.
So we need to determine everything that's wrong.
Just
Make
let
sure,
me know
make
when you
sure,
want
Glenn,
to
absolutely, make sure he's got your phone number, we'll set it up with you.
That's gonna get taken care of.
Absolutely.
See, the problem with, like, her example, like, we're below it, is from the gutter or the
Right.
downspouts.
Yeah.
So if those are not maintained, this is just gonna continue, and I understand we're due to get to
Yeah.
it. But that's one reason why gutters and downspouts should be in working order everywhere, because
Exactly.
it eventually moves into the structure.
The previous
And the building.
company that did the new gutters were supposed to come back and look at that. They were asked 2 or 3 times to do it, and they never did. That's why we're moving on and trying to see if we need to hire somebody else.
And we're working on that with the board. It sounds like, they gave us directive to move that project forward as quick as possible.
I have one more really quick question,
Sure.
sorry. If there are a ton of leaves, et cetera, within the one area that holds everything the most, which is literally right over the door, does anyone have a problem if I hire someone to come get that out? Because the more it rains, the more it sweeps, and the more I don't feel safe in my house. And then the sheep we have, it's just a hot mess. And is that gonna be a problem? If I have to hire someone to come and clean out what's in that little, there's like this little square section.
You're talking about gutters?
About the
Yes,
valley.
the gutters, I'm sorry.
The valley that comes down,
Yeah.
and they got the 2 pieces of metal,
Right.
and get all the leaves and
Right.
stuff in there. I thought I wanted to let her clean.
No, I know, but is that a problem if I get someone to come and clean that out?
It wouldn't be a problem, we're getting bids to have somebody come and do that to all the roofs. That's what we're talking about.
Right, no, and I get that, but I'm willing to pay, to have someone come clean just that area out, because the more it rains, the worse it gets, and I really don't, I mean, no offense, but
So how does that work?
Is this on the roof?
Will our insurance
it's in the gutters,
something like
so
that?
when you, this is that he was saying that come together, all of that overflows, and that water, it's rusted, and it rusted, the metal part's rusted through.
Yeah,
So it's like,
there's a lot of issues with workers' comp and liability insurance and everything else. If you hire somebody to work on a common area, common element, so I can't answer this question.
Is there a difference in hiring someone, like if we did it ourselves, you know, I mean, could we?
Well, I don't think anybody's gonna climb up on the roof.
I will climb up there. I have absolutely no problem with that. You don't know how bad
Really, it's not that.
it's really, it's not that bad.
We'll take a look at it when we come see you for the other
Okay,
stuff.
and I'm working
It's all
hard,
about
so
when
just-
we come over.
Yeah, when they look at it, we'll determine all that.
Okay. scheduling the rules and regulations maybe.
Yeah, I guess she's gonna do that.
Yep.
She'll be in touch with us and then we'll send it out.
And we're ready to work with them. So I guess typically on an agenda, you do have an open forum, save for the end, but your board wants you guys to be included, so they allow you to make your open forum comments during the meeting, which is fine, it seems it worked. But at this point, is there anyone who has an open forum comment they'd like to discuss?
Could you just ask Tom to clean out the sewer grates?
He's been doing that.
Okay.
That's part of his task list.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
He's definitely been doing that.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice,
Yes, sir.
Just wanna make sure, so it's not in Tom's purview as maintenance guy to clean gutters or blow the cedar needles off the roofs and stuff like that.
Okay, so, absolutely, he can't, the workers' comp insurance won't let him go over the first floor. I think they give a certain height, it's like 12 feet or 13 feet. So he's not allowed to do that, and there's some other restrictions on what he's allowed and not allowed to do, but you wouldn't want him up on the roof. It's a big exposure risk for your HOA.
Okay, so like that applies for garages and stuff like that and everything too, right? Cause I mean.
Well, first floor,
Some of the garages, you could probably, clean them out a little bit. The height seems like, I'll double check it, but it seems like it's within the reach requirements of the workers' comp.
Yeah, we had some previous meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need to put that on the schedule. What we're working on is a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly schedule for the maintenance plan. And so that'll get added.
Yes, sir.
I've noticed over by the dumpsters, people dump everything and just leave the trash out. Is somebody assigned to pick that stuff up and put it in the dumpster to get rid of it?
Yeah, us.
Because.
Yep, so, we are aware of it, we can see it, and usually we wanna get rid of it quick because, like one person puts all their garbage, like sofas and TVs there, other people see it, they think it's okay to add to it, and that's what we saw a week or two ago. So there's two ways, operationally we can do it, there's three ways. Tom could organize it and clean it, and he could try to put what he can fit into the dumpsters, right? That's one way. Another way is for us to call the garbage company, but they charge for that. You have a certain amount of bulk items they remove.
13 items.
Right, it's, I forget the exact number.
Well, the last
right?
management company told us it was like 15 free items, so we need to confirm.
We need to confirm that. So, there's a certain amount of free items you get per month. After that, they charge, and the price is up there. So it's for management and the board to discuss it and depend on the volume of garbage, but there may be a benefit of having someone come with a truck, pick it up and haul it out. For the cost savings, but also for the aesthetic of it. Yeah, yes, sir, Dennis, the name was, yep.
I'm gonna go back on what I asked Dick about the outside of my house, which I'm not responsible for. I'm responsible for everything inside the house.
Right.
Right? So come out, FSR came, they hired the gutter people to do the work. Supposedly, I was told by FSR, they're gonna come back and repaint the area that they took down I said, so they didn't come back and do it. So now what am I doing? Supposed to do on the appearance of my outside of my building? Do I get bids and send them to Castle Roof? And the board vote on getting it painted?
I don't think so.
What do I do? I'm not gonna pay for it.
So the outside of the building belongs to the condominium association.
Right.
Right? So it's the responsibility of the association to have that done. It has to be put into the budget. It was never addressed by former boards. There was never money allocated for that. And so, the ball was dropped on that. So,
The ball's dropped on that, Dennis, my building's the same way.
every building is the same. It's not
So
just
he
your
just
building.
wants to know, what are we gonna do about it, add it to the agenda for the future?
So what we're trying to eliminate is to have to deal with that for the final phase. And like I said, once we know what we're dealing with gutter-wise in the final phase, we're gonna retrofit that. But painting the stripes on the buildings should be addressed, I agree. I don't know if we have the money in the budget for it. It was never talked about. It was never discussed when we were all presented with bids for the gutters, so here we are.
But here's more important than that, even what are the holes that need to be filled, because that's where the moisture gets in, so it's not just the.
Well, that's already been addressed in most of them.
Not where I live.
Okay.
It's not, I know my neighbors. There you go, Bernice, I was hoping you'd speak up, yeah. We have that problem. She works in construction, she knows.
Yeah.
And that, we have to get on that, is that.
Well, we could definitely get pricing for at least, caulking the holes or
Yes.
stucco patching the holes and separate line item for painting, the board can make that decision.
Yeah, we've been harping on that to start for months and months and months.
Somebody needs to go around and determine what buildings and where.
That's a priority.
That's a common
Seriously.
All right.
Can we make it a priority?
Absolutely, sure.
Because I don't feel.
Yeah. That's one thing we've been tracking, you know, and it's a question of what you guys prioritize, so definitely. Yeah.
Painting is one thing more cosmetic, but it's the
Correct.
holes. It's
Holes
something we need to
and
really
we
think about.
need to put prices for that.
Purposes and all that.
Absolutely. Sir?
On the, with the dumpster and the price on the items, I mean, we got the trailer now. Could we take the trailer and maybe get, you know, let's people, if they need to throw it in, and then take it to the dump? Would it be cheaper?
Well, we need to, I mean.
I don't know how much you could fit in our little trailer.
Yeah, I mean, you can fit probably TVs, a couple houses, whatever. I'm just saying, depending on the items, you know, if you got 15 items,
That's
and we get that.
There's gonna be a negligence on
Okay, question in the back, ma'am?
Yes, the rules and regulations, are those going to be presented to the community before they're enacted?
I believe your rules and regulations are already in place, correct?
Yes, but
We're
they're
not-
being
we're not-
reviewed now.
I'm sorry?
They're being reviewed now.
We haven't started yet.
No,
Committee
what I
has-
mean reviewed, we're not editing, we're not changing the rules and regulations. We wanna sit down with the committee and read them, just to go through them so we understand what they are
Okay.
and what their expectations of enforcement are.
Okay.
We're not changing anything.
Yeah,
We
we're gonna
will
look
be,
into,
no, we will be though.
we're
That's the
looking
plan.
into making them, clarifying them. There's a lot of.
And that's fine, that's also a legal process, but for our purpose, to start enforcement, what I was
Yeah,
talking about,
that's
we were talking about a simple sitting down with the committee,
Yeah.
reading it and going out and writing violations.
But
Okay.
if there are changes, are those going to be communicated?
There's a legal process for that. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but there's a certain mailing that needs to be done in a certain format and a highlighting of the rules that has to be distributed to the
Right,
community.
I think my question is it gonna be discussed with the community for community input before it is imposed upon the community?
In other words, why not have a class and give us the regulations and everything as you see it?
So the way it'll work is the committee, their job is to report to the board and give recommendations. And that'll be done at a board meeting. So any recommendations that they come up with will be addressed at a board meeting, so you will hear it. And then there'll be question and answer during our discussion. Before
Join
we
the
vote.
committee and make your recommendation.
Yeah, so all the input, we want as much input as we can get.
Right.
We only wanna do this once and we wanna make it effective.
Is that 15-item limit for the garbage, is that once a week?
We don't know yet. Glenn's gonna call and confirm what we got to work with, because that's step one. If they're supposed to be taking this stuff,
Hello,
then
that's free.
Exactly, that's free. So, but step one, we gotta confirm what we got, and then we gotta enforce them.
Right, and the last time that someone dumped the garbage, they did not pick it up with the garbage was beginning, they left it, they didn't take anything.
There's stuff over there right now, yeah. So we need to find out what we got the rights to with that.
What if you see who's dumping? You report it?
I haven't seen it yet, I'm sure.
No, I can see them.
You can see people.
When the truck goes by with mattresses and furniture and stuff, if I'm in my office, I get to see everything.
See some pictures.
But if I did, I just report it.
What, I'm sorry.
We don't know allow everything, or is there things we not allowed to dump?
Found some identification on some of the pieces that have been dropped off there, but I don't think we have anything.
There's no legal recourse.
Yeah, there's nothing we can do.
We can't find.
We can identify them, and if we decide to put it in the rules and regulations that it's illegal to do that, and we vote it, and we do it legally, then we'll have a recourse. But we have to decide whether or not we wanna do that.
Even at that, if somebody is renting out and they're moving and they just.
Well, I suspect people know about this free dump area, and they come in with trucks and dump stuff. I don't know, that could be happening, nobody's watching.
It is happening. I've confronted people back there, and they are not in this community. They're bringing in full pickup truck loads of stuff. When I was working on my boat, for example, I did that a few times. I was threatened by a guy.
Yeah.
Not from here.
But I know
So,
that,
another question, so when we do work, repair, everything, is there a protocol that we're going to check that the job has been done as per the requirement? Do we inspect the job when it's done? Or
I'm sorry, I can't tell.
when we do some repair, do we have a checklist to check that the job has been done as per the quotation, has been done as per what we expect, or no? We take the word of the repairman or the company?
For the repair work that we're getting bids on or something?
Yeah.
He wants to know.
Yeah, what is
if
done?
somebody checking up to make sure that the job we've been promised has been done as promised.
done right.
Exactly, and so we wouldn't have the stripes on the building,
Yeah.
because that was promised to us.
Right.
Yeah.
And they just didn't finish the job.
Right.
That wasn't promised to us.
We were
So,
told, we were
everything
told,
that all the repairs,
We check what
It
it's
was
done.
not in the contract.
all the repairs have to be to code, and if they're over a certain amount, there has to be a permit hold. And if a permit is hold, then it has to be inspected when it's completed. So that process has been used, but most of the time, under $10,000, there's no permit, there's no inspector, we don't have. The management company is responsible for making sure the repairs are done correctly. And that's who we're gonna be relying on now. That was never done, FSR, to my knowledge, didn't follow up on that. But Glenn will.
Lucky Glenn.
all right,
Thank you.
all right,
Okay,
thanks a lot.
all right.
Bill, I take a call, if there's no more questions.
No more questions, okay. I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.